Welcome to my home. I'll take you on a guided tour.
Hey everyone, Chris here. A lot of people around the world at the moment are in lockdown. They're homebound and they're not really allowed to go out. So that made me think it's kind of the perfect time for me to discuss Lara's home in all its forms. So here is my ranking of every time we go to Croft Manor. First up, the most recent addition to the Croft Manor gallery is Tomb Raider Anniversary Edition from Core's cancelled game. This comes in last, it's number 10, it's unfinished, it's very nice, but there are so many better versions. In its current state, there's no voice work, there's no script to this, there's not really any puzzles that we know of at the moment. That waterfall is beautiful though. What I would like to talk about briefly is the potential of that manor though. In the development documents, which you can find over on Tomb of Ash's website, you can find out a little bit more about the manor and what they had planned for it. So throughout the games you were going to find treasures, kind of like you did in Crystal's Anniversary game. These would eventually have appeared within this manor. But that's not all. In Lara's inventory you would have found half a dragonfly brooch, and apparently if you'd have looked around you would have found the other half, you would have been able to turn that into a key, and then when you found the place to put that key it would open a secret door to Lara's treasure room. And inside that treasure room you would have had a huge globe, and then surrounding the globe you would have had these glass cases where you'd found all these artifacts, which is really cool. But it also would have acted like a hub where you could unlock special things. Lost Tomb challenges, which would have been extra little levels and cool things to do, which I wish. Extra weapons, extra outfits, and concept art, your sort of typical unlockables as well. I've said it a lot, maybe one day fans will be able to recreate this and patch really cool additions into this manor, but for now, bottom of my list unfortunately. Tomb Raider 1's manor was fantastic at the time. It was wonderful and I loved running around it. I loved tumbling around on that huge blue mat on the floor and exploring the climbing frame things and going for a little bit of a swim. But I do think that as that manor grew and more additions were made to it, we kind of had a better time with those, and so it's pushed Tomb Raider 1 right down the list. I do love Shelley's voice acting in this though.
Now I'd better take off these wet clothes.
For Tomb Raider 2, we see this twice. We see it in the main menu as the training level, but then we also see it as Home Sweet Home. I've spoken a little bit about this in my Horror of Tomb Raider video, and it is still top of my list for horror experiences in Tomb Raider. The darkness, the atmosphere, the alarm, the grunts coming from the dark places of the house when you just know there's like horrible, brutish men with these huge crowbars and monkey wrenches just coming to get Lara, and it is terrifying because Croft Manor is supposed to be a safe place. It's supposed to be a lovely, relaxing environment, and the combination of the cultists and the darkness and that alarm, oof, no, shivers. It is very cool that the first film with Angelina Jolie took from this and had a home invasion scenario. It's fun, it's terrifying, and this is when I think Croft Manor really started to hit its stride. Next on my list is Underworld, and we get to see this in a different kind of way. Early on in development of Tomb Raider: The Angel of Darkness, developers were toying with the idea of completely wrecking Lara's life in one way or the other just to give her that extra bit of, I don't know, struggle to overcome. And one of the things they suggested was burning down Croft Manor, which would have been devastating, and I still to this day would hate to have seen that manor go up in flames. But Tomb Raider Underworld developers, they just went for it and they burnt down Lara's house. Part of the level that's above ground when you're not exploring the tombs beneath, which is quite cool anyway, you see everything in flames. You're navigating around these fiery corridors. My favourite part of the entire scenario is just the inclusion of the doppelganger and her fight with Lara. Really, really cool. But there's not really much to do. You can't explore the manor properly, everything's on fire. The Burning Manor trailer is still, I think, my top favourite trailer though. No, actually. It's damn cool, but it's not my favourite. My favourite would be one of the Angel of Darkness trailers. The Tomb Raider 2 manor itself, when you're using it as a training experience or just to chill out and just have some fun, I really enjoy this level It built upon the original one, it got rid of those awful boxes, and you can now go outside, you can explore. Lara has a really cool assault course that you can try and beat your own time at, and I'm sure many people have glitched their way through that to triumph and done it in a few seconds or something wild like that. But then you also have the maze, which arguably is just a series of corridors, but it was still fun, and I remember the triumph of that feeling of amazing wonder when you finally found your way to the middle and you hit that switch and then it opened a door in Lara's house. But it was timed and you had to rush back there, and if you got lost you had to do it again. But if you were lucky enough, then you found Lara's secret treasure room underneath Croft Manor with lots of really cool stuff in it. I think that's where you find the Ark of the Covenant from the first game, which was just left by the door. You see some of the Geir Anderson cats. It's really cool. For me, it really ties into that greedy, selfish, hoarding nature that I always think of Lara as having. Spot on, I love it. And of course, Tomb Raider 2 is the first time when you can do this. Now into the top 5. In at number 5 is the Tomb Raider Legend Manor. This changed things up quite a bit. It was based on the first 2 films and Hatfield House, and fans were really happy to actually finally get back to a form of Croft Manor. I think it had been 8 years since the last time we'd seen Lara's house, so fans were really excited to get in there and explore. It was super detailed, it was very nice looking. You had Lara's bedroom, you had a walk-in wardrobe where you could try on all of her different costumes if you liked. It was missing the outside, but there was more than enough to do inside anyway. I think personally I may have put this higher if it didn't have Zip and Alistair, because I still think that anything with Zip and Alistair is just gonna plummet in my estimation. I just never saw the point of them. I just don't think Lara needs tech help, and I don't think she needs other people to look through mythology and history for her. In at number 4, we have the flashback from Shadow of the Tomb Raider where we see little Lara Croft exploring the grounds, and it was just joyous. From the little assault course outside, which is a little bit of an homage to Tomb Raider 2, she was telling a story in her mind, she was exploring, it was like she was on a little adventure of her own, and then she starts just climbing up Croft Manor, and then all of a sudden she's nearly falling off the roof, there's parts crumbling. It really set up that amazing adventure spirit that Lara Croft has always had, and it was really good fun. And then you had the puzzle inside as well, and the Croft Manor Museum full of everything that they'd stolen from around the world. And wonderfully, a T-Rex skeleton, which I think is the first time we've seen a T-Rex in Tomb Raider since, well, Anniversary. Whew, nearly 14 years. On to my top 3, and in at number 3 we have Rise of the Tomb Raiders DLC Blood Ties. Now, while I started to play this and every morsel inside me was screaming out in, again, more parent storyline, I couldn't help but enjoy this, despite that. I think all of the wonderful little homages to Lara's past were fantastic. The gramophone playing the Venice music.
This music is familiar. It's beautiful.
Again, is directly from the classics, but also an homage to being able to play that piece of music in the Tomb Raider 2 manner. The Jade Dragon statues, the links to the Temple of Xi'an, and how it tied into the larger mythology of the reboot series in general, all about immortality and resurrection. And that's before even talking about the atmosphere of that place, like the rain coming in through the holes where the tree has fallen in. It's gloomy, it's oppressive almost. I love the atmosphere in that place, and I think it's a really, really cool manner to explore. You can go down into the basements, you find secret rooms. It had pretty much everything, and then of course at the end you actually get to smash part of it up and find a secret tomb. Regardless of whose tomb it belonged to, really, really cool action. So, drumroll for number 2, we have the manor from Tomb Raider Anniversary. People love this, and I don't blame them. There are so many cool things about it. You have the giant puzzle that you have to solve, going around looking for clues and switches and everything around Croft Manor. You have the wonderfully chilled out music. You get to go outside, there's the hint of the maze, not to mention all those little books lying around the house that Lara could read up on lore and stuff to do with most of the series. It was really cool.
By far the most intriguing is the legend surrounding the fabled dagger of Xian and the awesome power it wields.
I'd say the only thing missing from here was the ability to lock Winston in the freezer. And of course they tried to tie it into the original that it was based on by bringing the boxes, because apparently that's what people liked about the original Manor, was the boxes. So yeah, I think if we ever get Croft Manor back in the future, I really hope that it's a cross between Tomb Raider Anniversary's Manor and Tomb Raider 3's Manor, which is by far and away the best one for me. I absolutely loved this. You get your expanded inside, you get the outside, you even get Lara's attic now because there's switches that lead you on another little quest around to find the quad bike course. So in this one, the maze that was outside has been dug up and replaced with an assault course for a quad bike. So you're driving around there trying to do that as fast as time as you can. But then also there's a really, really cool aquarium in there this time. So now Croft Manor is built upon a big aquarium, which, why not? And I love that there's a little chill out room right in the middle of the aquarium with a chaise-longue, and I think there's a bookshelf. Oh, that would just be the perfect place to relax. The assault course returns, and this time you even have your guns, because if Winston is going to annoy you and you don't fancy locking him in the freezer, you can always just repeatedly shoot him, which is just wild. It's just really ridiculously funny. But my number one favourite thing about this is Lara's actual secret treasure room. If you find the right switch, then there's a timed rush across the hallway into this treasure room, and what you find in there is wonderful because you have this T-Rex head, but then you also have things from her different adventures up until that point. You had remnants of the Skion, you had the Dagger of Xian, you had the Golden Idol from the very first Indiana Jones film, and most importantly, setting up another series of stories, the Iris, which at that point we knew nothing about. Because of course in the next game we're going to find out how Lara found it, then in the game after that we're going to see how Von Croy had it but then she stole it off him, and it's all tied into Lara's story, Lara's backstory, Lara's relationship with Von Croy, and that's just another reason why I love Tomb Raider 3's Manor. Because even though it's a really cool place to explore and kick back and have fun, it's also fundamentally important to Lara's story herself. So yes, more of this please. So that's my list. Tell me yours in the comments below. I'd love to know who agrees with me, who really hates my list. Go for it. See you next time.